This will be part two of my tax protest series. In the first part of the tax protest series, we discussed how to file the property tax protest with your county, and now hopefully you received an invitation from your ARB board, Appraisal Review Board, to participate in a hearing. And how do you prepare for that hearing? You're going to prepare with two different data sets, with two different types of data. The first data set is going to be research that you're going to gather from the tax appraisal district itself about property that are similar to you in a size, condition, in age, etc. And to show, hopefully, that price per square foot wise, they are charging more for your property than your neighbors are paying. So let's just say that you'll say, my neighbors are paying $110 per square foot for their improvements. Why am I being charged $117? It's not fair. It's not equitable. And the same with land. So for example, you can say you're charging me, let's just say $120 per square foot for land, but my neighbors are only paying 110. Why am I paying more for my land? Can you explain it to me? I want the same rate as my neighbors. So this data is going to come from from the tax appraisal district in which you live. And I'm going to show you how to collect it. So that's the first part of your research. And the second part of your research is going to be you showing to the appraisal district that your home needs a lot more repair than they know about. You have just about everything under the sun going wrong. Your AC is not cooling. Your water heater needs to be replaced. Your roof is leaking. You have damaged sheetrock from the foundation movement. Your doors are not closing, your foundation is moving. Just about anything that you can think of that's wrong with your home. By the way, they cannot come into your home and test whether or not your door is really closing. They'll have to take your word on it. What I'm saying is that in most cases, you can document quite a few repairs on your property, and you can bring estimates for repairs for those items to the ARB board to say, not only are you overcharging me compared to my neighbors, but also my neighbors don't have the same problems as I do. My neighbors don't have the shifting foundation, etc., etc. So I should get even lower price per square foot than my neighbors. That is the concept. So you're first going to prepare a spreadsheet, and I'm going to show you an example of such a spreadsheet showing that your neighbors are paying less than you do for land and for their improvements. And number two, that's not fair, doubly not fair. Not because you shouldn't be paying more than your neighbors, but also your neighbors don't have the same repairs that you do. And that is the concept of your argument. Okay, let's take a look how we're actually going to structure it and how to collect the first data and the second type of data. So let me share my screen here. I live in the Dallas County, so I'm used to dealing with the Dallas County Appraisal District. So if you're in a different appraisal district, my apologies. We're going to use the data here until we, and if you are in a different appraisal district, you'll probably see very similar fields in some way to what I'm showing on the screen. And if your data is significantly different, then contact me separately and I will be glad to help you to take a look at your um, at what we can see on your data. Hold on, let me just make sure it is still sharing. Stop share and then reshare. My bad. Let's see if it's still sharing. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen. Alrighty, so when, this is just a property that is owned by some investor. We're using, for example, purposes. There is nothing special about this property. What I wanted to show you is that you're going to have, this is Dallas Appraisal District. You're going to have the taxes that they believe you owe based on a total value, on a total taxable value of your property. And how do they calculate that value? They calculate it into part. They break your value into improvements, which means the buildings and land. Now that's important because improvements plus land equals total value. So if we can reduce either one or another, we should be in a position to argue for a lower market value assessment. How do we do that? We start by gathering information about your home. What does the appraisal district knows about your home? Verify first that everything is accurate, the age, the type of construction, the foundation, the heating and air conditioning information, story-wise, etc., in your living area. Okay, great. Let's just say that everything is correct. Also notice your desirability rating here at the state as average. That will come into the play a little bit later. Alrighty. The first thing that you do is you say, okay, my improvement is 263.320. And they're saying that I have 2238 square feet. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide this number, 263, by 2,238, and we're going to arrive at the number, let's just say $117 per square foot, okay? So what we're doing is we're taking your entire improvement valuation divided by the square feet, and it becomes your valuation, tax valuation per square foot, okay? That's super important. Next, we're going to take information about your land. And in this particular case, they say that you currently own 6,695 square feet of land. And we're going to divide that also by a number. Hold on, let me see if I can calculate it real quick. So let's just say 6,000, what was the number? 6,700, let's just say 6,700 divided, I'm so sorry, 80,000 divided by 6,700, and it comes out to about $12 per square foot for your land. So currently they're assessing you about $117 per square foot of improvements and about $12 per square foot of land. Okay, we wrote down those two numbers because next we're going to proceed with collecting data about homes that are similar to you, and those homes are going to have their own valuations. So for example, when you pull other homes in the appraisal district website, you're going to see their value broken out just like yours, improvements in land, and we're going to record the data about their cost of their improvements or value of their improvements, value of their land, and we're going to see how it compares to yours. Now, the process of finding these properties, I will be honest, the easiest way for you to go by would be to contact me and to ask me to look up about 10 comps on your area that are similar to yours in age, plus minus 5 years, let's just say, in square footage, plus minus 100 square feet or 200 square feet, similar type of 1-story or 2-story, and at the very least, somewhat similar in construction or in foundation. Once those are 2-3 items that are matching, they should be good comps for you. And we're going to proceed with looking at your how your property stacks up to other properties. So let's go ahead and do this. I already prepared the table. Let's see if we can stop the share. Okay, let me see if we can stop the share. Stop share. And let me see if I can share 2 screens at the same time. I should be able to. It's an experiment, so we'll see if it works. Okay, hopefully you can still see my Central Dallas Appraisal District website, but also I have already prepared a table, a comparison table between my property and some neighborhood properties. I hope that you can see right now I'm displaying a Excel spreadsheet, and fingers crossed it works. Okay, I have collected data about some of my neighbors, and this is what I have discovered, that some of my neighbors are similar square footage, similar age, etc. They're marked grade as average. Some of them were grade as fair, and then good, and there were a couple of excellent ones, but I didn't record them. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Dallas County Central Appraisal District, And I'm going to go search appraisals. And let's just say that I found information about the property that are similar to mine. All I need to do is to enter their information into this find property by street address. And then I should get a similar breakdown right here. And I should see their information about their, square feet and their area. Area means the land underneath them. I should have the same information as I do right now. So I fast forward. We're not going to go one by one to record that information manually. I already recorded some of the properties that were similar to mine, and I recorded their market valuation, living area, land area, their grade. Depreciation, I really don't know how depreciation is calculated. It's very hard for me to understand what role it plays. But nevertheless, I recorded and then I did my calculation. So this data right here, came straight from the information on the Appraisal District website. So we'll just color them slightly differently. So this data came from the Dallas Appraisal District. And this data right here, I calculated myself. Also, this data came from the Dallas Appraisal District as well. And this data I calculated myself. So what I did is I divided their total assessment, market value of their land, market value of their house improvements, and I divided it by that number to receive this number. Okay. So now we know price per square foot for their improvements, and then price per square foot for their land. And now all I did, and some of them, not all of them, even though they were my neighbors, not all of them were rated the same. Some of them were rated average, fair, good. So I then sorted by their rating because I want to see among the properties that had the same rating as me, which is average, how many had the same valuations on taxes. So for example, we have living area, which means our improvements, our house. My valuation, what I'm paying right now, was $117. Now, what I noticed is that some of my neighbors were paying more than I do, or more. Some of my neighbors were charged more than I do for their living area. For example, the most expensive is $131. This person really needs to get their tax protest filed. But some of them were charged less. So for example, the lowest number that I found was for this property, and this property, Crest Meadow, and apparently they're paying $110 per square foot for their improvements. So this is where your argument comes in. You need to say, look, you are charging me, or you're saying that my improvements are worth $117 per square foot. So if my house is similar to this home, why then my neighbor is paying 110 for his improvements? It is not equitable, and because it is not equitable, it is not fair. And basically what I'm asking you to do, Mr. and Mrs., appraiser, is I need you to charge me the same as my neighbor in Crest Meadow. I want 110 per square foot, just like my neighbor. And you say, okay, that is as far as my improvements go. But also, I think you're overcharging me for land as well. Noted that my land came in at $12 per square foot. And I'll say, I want to understand why my land is considered to be $12 per square foot when my neighbors on Windsor, on Crest Meadow, and on Creekview are paying no more than 10. And some of them are paying $8.88. I don't know if you think that my lot is more valuable, but I believe that we have the same lot, and therefore I want the same as my neighbor. I want you to charge me no more than $9 per square foot for my land. That is your argument on the actual, let's just say, land versus improvements. How much should they be valued at? I'm going to, so this is the So the area in light lilac or light um, whatever that color is, light purple, is what I collected from the appraisal district itself, and the area in light yellow is what I calculated. Of course, I'm going to give you a kind of like a template of the same table so you can make your own calculations. And the easiest way to go about it would be number one, step one, you text me the address for which you want me to collect the data. Step two, I send you a list of addresses that are, in my opinion, very similar to yours in age, size, etc. Then you take this list of addresses, you go on the appraisal district website, and you start to collect data from the appraisal district website, filling out these parts of the information, the one in light purple. And then after you're done collecting that information, you just fill out the data. By the way, if you're marked as average, I would, even though it's good to look at what your neighbors are paying, I wouldn't necessarily collect too much data on the one that are rated higher than you, because obviously those are more modern, more improved homes, maybe. I would focus on just collecting data on homes that are in a similar classification for grade as you are. And then once you're done with collection of information, you just create your formulas and you calculate price per square foot, and then it becomes apparent who are the winners. So for example, this property is definitely the winner on the this property is definitely the winner when we want to argue for our price per square foot. And this property is the winner when it comes to arguing for price per square foot on your land, right? So we have, this is the winner on the improvements, and this is the winner on land. And you just basically tell the appraisal district that I want the price of my living area, my improvements, to match my neighbor on Crest Meadow, and I want my land to be evaluated about the same as my neighbor on Creekview. Okay, so that is your argument for the ARB board. And what I would do is, I'll just say we don't need any of these, and just grade them out for you so they're not confusing you. So I would just print out this table right here and have it printed with me when I go to the ARB board. But that's not the end of our argument. This is just the beginning. And we're saying, okay, so you are stating that my rating is average. My desirability is average. By the way, if you need to know what those desirability ratings are, there are actually definitions on their website right here. And you can look at, what kind of desirability ratings are available. And if you notice on our spreadsheet, the higher is the desirability rating, the more they're paying per square foot on everything. So that brings us to the next point, in that by lowering our desirability rating, we can actually lower our price per square foot, at least on improvements. How do we do that? We finish by saying that, so dear ARB board, we believe that we have been charged more than our neighbors, which is neither equitable nor fair. And also we want to bring to your attention that we are also suffering from all kind of house problems, which our neighbors don't even have. And we are presenting here information about very urgent repairs that are needed to our house in order to make it even livable. And now you launch into the second part of your presentation, and this is where your second part of preparation needs to come in. So prior to going to the ARB board, you need to call up, you know whom I would call? I would call people who are doing like whole home remodel, because they typically have broader range of expertise, and say, I want you to assess my HVAC. I want you to climb into the attic and look at my duct work and what condition is my duct work. I want you to go on the roof and assess the situation with shingles and with siding. Are there any problems with shingles or with siding? Any of my wind turbines, any of my jacks on the roof, anything like how my soffit looking like, how my gutters looking like? Then while they're doing that, also bring a foundation person, make sure that the foundation person finds something to complain about on your foundation. Say, look, I have an estimate from a foundation guy, and he said I need $22,000 worth of repair on my foundation. Bring in a plumber, bring in an electrician, make them look for flaws that really are existing, and then just kind of like make a big deal about those flaws. He said, oh my God, my electrical, where basically, a ticking bomb. We have General Pacific electrical box considered to be extremely unsafe. It's a fire hazard, needs to be urgently replaced. And here is the quote from electrician. Also, we have a leak under the two toilets. We have a leak under a bathtub. We have a leak between the wall. There is a mold starting. Here is a quote from a plumber guy who said that we need everything replaced, and he's quoting us $10,000. Also, our garage door is not opening. There's something wrong with the opening mechanism. Here's a quote from the garage company. And also, the fireplace does not start, and the fireplace company told us we have a gas leak. And here is the estimate from the fireplace company. We have sheetrock damage from blah blah blah. We have two cracked windows and one broken window. We have a leaning fence, and so on and so on and so forth. Showing pictures. Now the pictures need to be brought potentially on a thumb drive, or you need to print out the pictures, but most importantly, make copies of any quotes that you received from the repair people. Make copies and highlight the total amount and highlight the date when it was given, and say, please take a look, and then have like a total spreadsheet for them, like a total table saying, I need $11,000 for HVAC, I need $6,000 for roof and siding, I need $22,000 for foundation, and this much for electrical, and this much for plumbing, and this much for the garage door. This is my total. And without it, my home is barely livable, barely livable. So on top of me saying that I am being charged more than my neighbors are for my improvements, I also want to tell you that I don't think that my condition should be average. I think it should be considered fair, because honestly, with so many repairs, it's hardly comparable to my neighbors. So I also would like to request a downgrade of my condition to a lower condition rating. And that is the gist of your argument. So as you can see, a lot of it has to do with you working with partially me, trying to get the data, putting data into your spreadsheet to document your findings. You will need to have access to a printer of some kind. You'll need to print the spreadsheet showing the distribution of price per square foot for land and for improvements. That's one spreadsheet. And then a second spreadsheet or table should be you showing the total amount needed for, let's just say, a column A is plumbing, AC, roof, foundation, etc. That's your first column. And then total estimate that is needed with a total running total showing total amount of, so that needs to be a second table printed. And then you need to have all the documents showing like estimates, copies of estimates, stapled and attached. And if you want to show pictures of your damage, I'll be honest, the ARB board is so busy. They're so busy that they process probably, several hundred people like you per day. They're not going to be spending 6 hours looking at your photos. So don't overthink it. But at the same time, have that proof just in case they ask. That's all for now. If you have additional questions based on what you've seen, call me separately. We will do, a short consultation. And then if you need my help collecting the data for your table, the properties that are similar to yours in, age, size, whatever, then I'm going to send you the list of the properties, and then you go to work starting collecting data and building out your table. Speaking of the table, I'm going to send a copy of a blank table. So you already have the columns and you already have the colors and everything created. This way you can just start putting the data in and then making your calculations. I hope that video helped you. I really pray that once you come back from the ARB board, you're going to call me very excited and say, I got a tax reduction. And that will be the best call I'll receive for that day. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. My name is Elena Garrett, and I'm a realtor in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas. I am a realtor with Keller Williams Central 75. Those are mandatory disclosures from my broker. And feel free to call me. My contact information will be in the description below. See you later.